Hi guys, it's personal branding coach Samantha Whittaker here, and this is the powerful and feminine movement, how to thrive in life, love, and business. Today's interview is entitled How to Dream Bigger. And our guest is Dr. Audrey. She's a transformational coach, speaker, and author. Her book is entitled Size Matters: How to Dream Bigger, Step into Your Personal Power, and Start Creating Your Dream Life Today. Dr. Audrey specializes in coaching professionals who want to create their dream business, achieve their ideal work-life balance, or get that dream job. She draws upon business strategy, self-empowerment, psychology, and peak performance to teach her clients everything they need to know to reach their ambitious goals, and do it with enthusiasm and ease. She's been trained by Tony Robbins, Chloe Medanes, and Christy Whitman, and she holds multiple coaching certifications. Dr. Audrey was born and raised in Provence in the south of France. She didn't want to limit her dreams and her life to what was familiar, so she took every opportunity to study and work abroad. She lived in England, Spain, and Italy, and moved to California, where she completed her master's degree in business administration. She advanced her career rapidly while continuing graduate school to obtain a doctorate degree in educational leadership from the University of Southern California. By choosing complete immersion into new countries, she had to learn languages and cultures rapidly. She didn't have a support system, and she worked to pay for her education. All of these things and experiences taught her to become very resourceful and strategic in everything she does. So I know that Dr. Audrey will have a plethora of information to share with us, not only from an academic standpoint, but from a life experience standpoint as well. So with that, I want to welcome Dr. Audrey to our panel. Hi, Dr. Audrey.
Good morning, Samantha. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Good. I just realized it's afternoon for you. So good afternoon.
Yeah, no, we're global around, so afternoon, morning, we're all connected thanks to the internet. But thank you so much for joining us on this panel today. We're really excited to have you on with us, and to dive right into talking about personal development and how we can have a bigger life.
Yes.
So how about we start out by going with what drew you to the field of personal development?
It was a really interesting journey. Originally, I started being interested in self-help and personal growth even as young as when I was a teenager. I was one of the few 15-year-olds that were reading books from Louise Hay, and I really wanted to learn how to use my mind to my advantage, how to be self-empowered, because I saw a lot of things with my family and people around me growing up, and I didn't want the same life. I wanted a very different life for myself. So I've always had a great interest in that. But I also made myself a promise that I would never struggle for money. So I went to business school, and I always focused on my career. So from my mid-20s on, I've always made at least 6 figures. For me, that was a really important part of my life. I wanted to make sure I would always have what I needed. So I've worked for a long time in business and management, and how I became a coach is almost by accident. I love learning, and after I finished my doctorate, I still like to learn things. So I came across a coaching program that sounded really interesting, and I decided to do it not to become a coach, but because I wanted the skills for myself, and I wanted the skills for people in my life. I just really wanted to learn that stuff. So that program was great because it forced me to start coaching people. It wasn't just something where you go and learn and that's the end of it. We had to do sample coaching sessions for clients that were our guinea pigs when we were learning. And those were recorded. We got feedback from our instructors, and it was very structured. It was a year-long program. And then I realized I had more joy coaching than being a manager. And that blew my mind, because I've always seen myself as an expert in project management, managing people, motivating, getting stuff done, never missed a deadline in my life. I was that hardcore type A career woman. And now I got to a point where I just wanted to coach people, and that was such a weird shift. And people would say, oh, you can make 6 figures. And I thought, well, I always make 6 figures, so basically I'm going to have to work really hard just to maintain the living I'm making now. So that was sort of a strange thing where I was coming from a really different place. But you know what? I had to do what my heart was telling me to do. So I decided to just basically flush away the last 10 years of my career and start something really new. And that was 5 years ago. And I'm so glad that I did. Because I get so much pleasure, so much satisfaction to be living my purpose and to do something that is in alignment with what my soul was calling for. So that's sort of how I got into it.
That's amazing. And you work predominantly with corporate women, correct?
Yes, because that's the women I relate with the most. We get each other.
Yeah.
We're the same.
Okay, so what are some of the trends that you see with your corporate female clients?
You're talking in terms of things that they wish to change?
Yes.
Right, so I see a lot, well, maybe that's just a law of attraction. I'm attracting women that are like me 10 years ago. I see women who are overly focused on achieving, who are really hard on themselves, who want to do everything perfectly. And they're working so hard and they're in charge of so many things that they don't have a lot of time for themselves. So that's where they start to have just a lack of balance in their life can create illnesses, a lot of fatigue, even autoimmune diseases. When I talk to a woman and she says she has no time for herself, she said, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I know that it's time to work together because we got to work on priorities. And then I need to teach her self-empowerment for her to understand that she can be even more successful without doing this much work. And balance is so important for health, for happiness, for joy. So a lot of type A women working really, really hard and who just need to learn that it's okay to take a break. It's okay to go on vacation. It's okay to take better care of themselves. And by doing this, they're not going to perform less. They will actually perform better. So that's a lot of what I see coming to me.
Yeah. I think there is a lot of messaging in our culture that says we have to work if we're going to be okay, and these are inherently like they're male traits, but somehow we've internalized them and said we should follow the same model that they follow. When you see a woman approaching her work and her life, with very masculine dominating traits, what advice do you give to her?
Well, interestingly, as a coach, that might surprise you, but I can't really give her advice because, first of all, what coaching is about is making the client come up with their own truth. When you lecture someone and you said, well, let me tell you what's wrong with you. You should do this, you should do that. It doesn't really speak to them, even if it's a person of authority that they are paying to help them with their lives. It doesn't do the transformational work that I seek. So I come in with no judgment at all. I have to be completely ready to listen 1,000% and hear from their perspective. So I see the dysfunction, the lack of balance, the joy that's not there. I see the pain, but instead of giving advice, I'll just nudge her into getting some new beliefs. So I might ask her, what do you wish could happen in your workplace if you could just wave a magic wand and get exactly what you wanted? I get her dreaming again. I get her to connect with her true desire because she needs to get out of what she sees as her reality, being, it is what it is. I have to do this, I have to do that, I don't have a lot of choices, it's really hard. I make her step aside from all those beliefs and really connect with how she wishes things could be. And then I help her understand that we can go from dream to vision to goals to action plan to actually making it her reality. We don't like to be judged, we don't like labels, and type A women strong like me and a lot of my clients really need to come to that understanding on their own. Now, what's really fascinating is that I can have somebody start a session with me telling me, this is what it is. I am under so much pressure, there's all this. And after I ask a few questions, as she starts to explain her situation, she starts laughing. And she said, what I just said, that doesn't make any sense at all. And that's where you get shifts in beliefs. That's where she realizes, well, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be this way. We can do things differently. And with a new perspective, then it becomes a lot easier to make choices to honor her femininity, to honor the essence of who she is, to honor all of her gifts. And that's where magic happens.
Yeah, no, I love that you talk about giving her, inspiration to dream again. But what tips would you give to that woman who is extremely logical and she knows that she wants to do something, but she's scared? You know, are there some tips that could help her kind of get out of her own way?
Yes, absolutely. Well, that might sound funny, but the very first piece of advice I would give that woman is do not listen to anybody's advice. Because what's happening is when you have a big dream, when there's something you want to do, but there's fear there because it's extraordinary, or maybe it's going to get you so far out of your comfort zone that there's fear and there's doubt and there's something you haven't done before and you don't know if you're going to succeed, you don't know if you're going to make the best decisions, and there's all that fear. If this woman starts talking to her friends and other people, what's going to happen is the people that have very limited beliefs about what's possible are going to talk her out of it. They're going to talk about the fear, they're going to tell her all the reasons why she shouldn't, and it's going to lead her in the wrong direction. But on the other hand, if she talks to someone who has a big dream but no courage to do it, and they would like to see her do it because they don't have the courage, but I think it's really cool, they may push her in the wrong direction, and she could actually fall flat on her face because everybody's telling her what she wants to hear and it's not helpful. So I would say to that woman, kind of tune out other people's opinions, because other people really don't know what you're capable of, what your big dream is, what your soul is calling you to do. You know, what makes you happy? Where is your purpose? Nobody else can tell you that. So, you know, my advice is don't listen to anybody's advice except mine. I'm joking about except mine, but, you know, definitely seek out some resources, inspiration, and find a peer group.
Yeah.
Find people that are like-minded, that are dreaming big also. It's really important to be surrounded by people that really get what you're doing and are not going to push you in ways you shouldn't be pushed, or are going to hold you back just because of their limited thinking.
Yeah.
So find that peer group, find a mastermind, tune out people that are creating doubt. So then it becomes just her with her inspiration, whatever resources she's bringing in, whether it's books, a coach, a course, whatever that might be. And then at that point, to overcome fear and to overcome doubt, it really depends on the nature of what she's feeling and what she's thinking. But what's super, super, super important is, number one, get a clear vision about what she really, really wants to do. Because, you know, when your dream is bigger than your fears, then your fears sort of melt away. So there's got to be that compelling reason to go after that big dream. There needs to be so many advantages to going forward that the fears and the doubts don't hold her back anymore. So that strong vision of success, it's something she needs to be seeing every day, connecting with every day. Also using the law of attraction and universal laws to raise her vibration and to manifest what she wants rather than what she doesn't want. Make sure to focus her thoughts on what she already has, the skills she has, what she can be grateful for, all of the blessings that she's already receiving, and not giving power to what's lacking, what's not here today, or how much work there is to do. So mindset is a big, 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 big part of it. But also, you know, I'm still a businesswoman with an MBA. I'm a strategic thinker. So I won't tell somebody, just follow your dream and it's going to happen, build it, and they will come. You know, unfortunately, it's not that simple. There's lots of people out there just following their heart and getting nowhere in business. So she would have to have a really strong strategy. I would advise that she creates a strategic plan, that she looks for resources, that she becomes resourceful when there's something she needs but she doesn't have, find a way to go get it. And then be persistent. When we go after something really big, it's normal sometimes to have setbacks or to have lessons, or somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and there's obstacles. It's just part of life. So be persistent and see every setback as a lesson and keep growing and persist and keep at it, because when she conquers, when she gets to the point of making her dream a reality, the joy she's going to experience is undescribable. The only way to feel it is to be in that situation. So just keep going. And maybe last one would be trusting her intuition. Again, people are really big on giving advice, unsolicited advice, bad advice, biased advice. And the truth is, her intuition will tell her what she needs to do, and listening to that gut feeling and honoring the wisdom that we have within.
Yeah.
So that was a long answer, but there's just a lot.
No, and honestly, I just want to reinforce some of the things that you said because as you were speaking, I was just reminiscing on my own journey. And it's true that, when you go out on your own or when you try to take a leap, everyone around you, they may be very well intentioned, but they want to have a say because they want to keep you safe. They don't want to see you fail. And in keeping you safe, they give you their opinions. And their opinions instill fear in you. And I mean, I remember I actually had to go through a process. And this is probably a process that a lot of women, if you're going to go out on your own, will encounter. You will need to start to separate yourself from other people. And they may take it personally, but you still have to kind of be true to you and be like, listen, I love you, but I just don't want, I'm going to seek outside opinion on this because I want unbiased feedback. And I can't even reinforce what you said about intuition either, because once, you get out of your head and you start listening to your body, your body never steers you wrong. But it took me a really long time to realize that I should be listening to my body more.
I think it's a lesson that we tend to have to learn multiple times, because sometimes in business there could be someone who has amazing success, a mentor, somebody you respect, who will say, hey, this is exactly what you need to do. And as you're doing it, something doesn't feel right, and you realize it's their strategy, but it's not necessarily in alignment with your integrity or your values or how you want to go about it. And guess what? You work really, really hard and it doesn't work at all, because you're being redirected to doing business the way that you should, because it's yours. It's your approach, and just trying to replicate someone else's approach just because they're teaching you and you believe it worked for them, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So yes, understanding that people are coming from a good place, they're wanting to help most of the time, but it doesn't mean that they're right, because they don't have a connection to your higher self. Only you do. They don't know what's in your heart. Only you do.
Yeah, that's absolutely so true. And that's a perfect segue into my next question for you, because there's this saying that goes, there's nothing worse than the pain of regret. And you'll always wonder, like, what could have been or what could have happened, if you didn't do something. What are some of the consequences of living with regret?
There's the obvious consequences, always wondering, always feeling small, and it can hurt self-esteem in a really big ways, because every time we settle, it brings a lot of pain. So I don't want this interview to be a downer, so I'm not going to go too deep into the obvious. I mean, it's true. You settle, you have regret. It's awful. Who wants to live life like this? Oh, all the things I could have done, all the things I could have been. It's obvious. There's just so much pain there. But I want to point out there's more than the obvious. When somebody settles and decides to let fear control their lives, it impacts every aspect of their lives. It's not just that one dream they give up on, it's everything they do throughout the day. It becomes a way that they're reacting to life. And it's not an empowered way to get through life, but the problem is there's people watching. They may be children learning from that person, if it's a parent, or even an uncle, an aunt, a friend, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, there's always somebody who's watching you and learning. So what it does is that person becomes a role model about not having inspiration and not believing and not following dreams. So it's destructive at a much bigger scale than just giving up on one dream for one person. It's teaching people to be fearful. So I don't know about you, I don't know if you have kids, but if I had kids, the last thing I would want is to teach them to think in limiting ways. I wouldn't want them to be taught by watching me that they can have what they want, they can succeed at what they really want, and they should go for whatever is safe. So we've got to think about that. It's not just the obvious pain we have every day, it's the ripple effect on the people that are around us. And also, to think about it, every time we give up on something big, there's a purpose that's not being fulfilled. So what happens at the end of your life when you look back and you think that, wow, how foolish was I to let fear stop me, and now it's too late. I'm 120 and I'm dying. No, I'm dying about the 120, but it's anyway, I want to stop talking about regret because it's really sad.
No.
Just step into your power.
Yes. Okay, well, let's talk about stepping back into our power. How do you authentically know that you're aligned with what you're really supposed to be doing?
Ah, that's actually the easy part. People ask me all the time, so how do I know if this is my purpose? How do I know if I'm on the right path? The answer is really simple is how do you feel when you're working on it?
Mm.
If you're feeling joy, if you feel like, oh, this is good, I'm enjoying this. If you wake up in the morning with purpose and you're excited, you're feeling that joy, you're in the zone. When you're feeling that, you know that you're definitely connected to your purpose and you're going about it in a way that's going to serve you and is going to serve your purpose. Now, if you are feeling a lot of fear, but excessive fear, there may be some work to do, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily going in the wrong direction. But anytime you're feeling bored, frustrated, and you feel like, oh, no, this just doesn't feel right, that doesn't resonate, and you find yourself in a meeting and you just want to jump out the window. It's like, I'm so bored, I can't stand it, I can't be here any longer. You know, when you're just really frustrated and really bored, or when you don't fit in, like there's no purpose for you to be in this room, there's no purpose for you to be working on this project. I mean, you're feeling it. So when you're saying, how do you know you're aligned with what you're supposed to be doing? I say your emotions tell you if you're in the zone, if you're creative, if you're able to do things and you're getting a lot of pleasure out of it, then keep going. And if you're bored out of your mind, definitely go do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's just a great way to, go about and approach life. But a lot of times as women, we try to make excuses for why we can't do something. And so say for the woman who has responsibilities, an aging mother, children, etc. She's probably thinking to herself, it's safer for me to make decisions that are logical rather than emotional. What do you say to that woman about really just trusting the universe and trusting that she should do this and not always look at, what she's supposed to do that she thinks is right?
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that woman with that limited perspective because I used to be that woman. I used to be extremely pragmatic, and I spent so much time in school. I believed in research and knowledge and data, and making data-driven decisions and analyzing everything with my left brain. It's really the woman I was 10 years ago before I opened up to intuition. And now I look back at my old self from 10 years ago and I have compassion for her. Like, oh, she was cute. She had no idea. There's a much bigger perspective. So the thing is, when we are relying on our mind, on our intellect to make decisions, and we're looking at what's rational, what makes sense, we have such a limited perspective of the universe, of life, of the role we're supposed to play in other people's lives, of what we're supposed to do, because our consciousness is very limited when it only comes from our logical thinking mind. So I would tell her, okay, you understand intellectually you've got a certain perspective, but a lot of it is actually false beliefs. We all have false beliefs in our minds. So she might, for example, have a belief, you're saying an example about an aging mother. What does it really take to be a loving daughter and really take care of her mom and do the right thing? It doesn't mean 24/7. She doesn't have to kill herself doing it. There's ways she can redefine what it really means to be a good daughter and take care of her mom. She can find ways to make more money and maybe pay for somebody to take care of her mom 8 hours a day and giving her some extra time. I mean, there's just a million different approaches. So for everything that we're looking at, we see generally one or two perspectives when there's 100 or there's 1,000 or there's 1,000,000. So there's always many, many more perspectives. So listening to when you're saying an emotional space, I would say it also depends on what meaning you're attaching to the word emotional. For some people, emotional means irrational. And irrational, it doesn't really feel good. What I really want people to focus on is emotions as in feelings, as in listening to our inner guidance, listening to our heart, listening to our soul. And from that place, we get access to much more information. So the mind only knows so much. And your intuition has access to much more. You're connected to the energy field that we are all sharing. And that's how we can get such a bigger perspective. So I would say to this woman, listen to what your brain is saying, but listen to your heart. Pay attention to science. Pay attention to what else is available to you. And listen to your body, because your body will give you signs that are much more accurate than your brain ever will. And remember, do not believe everything that you're thinking, because your mind has a lot of limiting thoughts, and so much of it is not true. So be willing to look at different perspectives and be willing to give yourself permission to make things a little bit easier on you. Because we always think there's so much honor in working hard and self-sacrificing, and it's really not true, because when you're self-sacrificing, you're hurting yourself, and then you can't shine your light as bright as you could if you were taking care of yourself. So anyway, I would have lots to tell her, but that would be the essence
Yeah.
of it.
No, that's great. And I know that you have a special gift for our listeners that can really help them touch on so much of what we've already talked about. So tell us a little bit about it, as well as tell us about your book, Size Matters.
hmm Yes, so it's really interesting. The questions that you've asked me, every single question is addressed in the book, because that's what my book is about.
Mm.
So it is Size Matters, how to dream bigger, step into your personal power, and start creating your dream life today. And the book is really here to inspire people to find that courage to go after what they really, really want and work on their mindset, work on their strategy, use universal laws. And also, there's a lot about self-love and acceptance, which is so hard for us type A women, because we always put ourselves last and we always feel like we're so strong, we don't need any of that. But it's giving all the ingredients to go from dream to goals to execution to actually being successful at making this dream a reality. So the special gift for the viewers of your teleseminar, they can go to my website. It's audreyreilly.com. It's spelled AudreyReille.com. And I'm sure there's going to be a link, something to click on to go and access the first I think it's 3 or 4 free chapters of the book. So you can go and start connecting with your big dream today, and you can start developing that vision of what it is you really, really want, and get inspired and start taking action with trust and knowing that you can succeed, and you will.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. You know, the link will be up on your profile page on the event site, so it's just an easy click away for everybody watching. And that's such a great, generous offer to give, 3 to 4 chapters of your book away to really help a woman who might be struggling in this area. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and for also sharing your insight and taking the time to join us on this panel. We really do appreciate you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Audrey.
Bye.